All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I want to go back and talk about the whole Kevin Holland Rampage Jackson situation that happened right before Kevin Holland's fight against Reiner de Ridder this past Saturday at UFC 311, which of course he lost, by the way, but it's okay, guys, because, you know, keep in mind he doesn't really care about all that. But what I'm talking about, of course, is Kevin Holland being extremely antagonistic and aggressive towards Rampage Jackson on his own podcast. By the way, very disrespectful behavior. But the reason I want to go back and talk about this is because on yesterday's episode of the JAXXON Podcast, Dillishaw just completely cooked Kevin Holland in the very honest and straightforward, very blunt way that he so often does, in the way that he did to Anthony Smith and other fighters, of course. Now, number one, I think this is absolutely hilarious. And number two, he agreed with, a lot of what myself and a lot of the fans in the comment sections and things like that had to say regarding Kevin Holland and the way he thinks about his fighting career and all the rest of it. Okay, so let's get into that first clip.
I'm gonna tell you, a lot of fighters was mad. I got a lot of texts.
I was fucking pissed.
Yeah.
TJ Dillishaw texted me and said, someone needs to talk to Holland or I will. And TJ Dillishaw was standing on business. Everybody was trying to figure out what a 45-70 is.
Yeah.
Do you know what a 45-70 is?
I don't give a fuck what a 45-70 is. I was just pissed about the way he's talking to you, bro. If I was like, I wanted to fucking slap his ass.
Yeah, he tell me shut the fuck up. Like,
Yeah, dude.
I was like, bro, you gonna tell me shut the fuck up?
Yeah.
Bro, I had to be real professional. I was real proud of myself. I was real professional.
You did a good job.
Yeah. But honestly though, as time went on by the end of the podcast, I like the dude because I don't take stuff personally.
Yeah.
I honestly think that you have an ego. And and I think that you have a temper tantrum.
That's the first bad thing I ever said to any guest.
What'd you say?
About the ego. That's the first time
What'd you say?
I just said I think he has ego. That's why he talks so much during the fights.
Is that really what you said?
That's what I said. Because wrestling was my first discipline, and my coach, Coach Bojo, R.I.P. He was the only guy that could touch me on my shoulder and make me calm down. I'd be like about to lose my temper, and only guy on the planet he could just touch me on my shoulder and I calm down. And he always taught me. I always listen to everything he said. He taught me, don't talk on the mat, respect the mat, respect the mat. So I've never talked on a wrestling mat, and I never talked in a fight.
Me neither. I don't have time for it. You know what I mean? It's like I mean, I love when Bobby Green does it, right?
Yeah.
Like I love that they're that loose and they're able to just like talk and do that shit. But like Bobby Green's talking like actual facts about the fight and whatnot. Holland's just kind of running his mouth.
I like when.
All right, now in that first clip, of course, they're talking about the whole situation. This is how the podcast started off, and Bear is explaining how TJ was very upset during this whole interaction, texting Bear, telling him, somebody better talk to Holland or else I will, and was expressing how much he wanted to slap him and things like that, which I totally understand. Okay, TJ at this point is friends and business partners with Rampage, and Kevin Holland was acting like an absolute fucking dickhead. Okay, but there's one thing in particular that he spoke about at the end that I want to touch on, because I spoke about this in the last video that I did on this whole situation, was TJ saying I don't talk in fights because I don't have time to. Okay, and I think what that is reference to something that Kevin Holland said during his podcast with Rampage Jackson that I called out immediately in my first video, which was that he talks because he gets bored and there's nothing to do.
Dana White came out and he talked about the fact that he wanted someone, and he said, yo, get the loudmouth, bring the loudmouth in, let's see what he could do. You came in short notice, you put on a show, and then from there I feel like your career took off. You've been known for talking loud. You talk during the middle of the fights. What is it about your style? What is it about talking during the middle of the fights, the way you're able to keep the energy going, that you feel made you the fighter you are?
Nah, I just feel like fights get boring sometimes. There's nothing to do. We're just sitting there. So casual conversation rules the nation. Nothing wrong with having a little conversation with somebody, see what happens. It's like we're just standing there looking at each other.
I think.
All right, so I do think that is what TJ Dillishaw was referencing there. And I brought this up in my first video on this, like I said, because I thought it was an unbelievably stupid thing to say. You're in a fight. There's always something you could be doing. There's never nothing to do in a fight. And TJ Dillishaw basically says that exact same thing when he says, no, I never talk in fights because I'm always too busy, right? There is always something you could be doing. And I just want to point out, okay, I never noticed this the first time I watched that clip, but watching it now again to put it in this video, I realized, one, Kevin Holland is rocking like he might be slightly autistic, okay? And there's nothing wrong with that, but also he says you know, so many fucking times that he reminds me of a certain somebody.
An idiot. You know what I'm saying? Everybody walking on the face of the earth trying to judge a J-Rock. You know what I'm saying? See what I'm saying? But I ain't shook, because motherfuckers try to take me out and stuff, but they can't, right? You know what I'm saying?
Saying, know what I'm saying, too many times. 80 or 90 times? That's too many times. Once or twice is cool, but 80 or 90 times, man?
What are you, from the department of know what I'm saying? You taking the know what I'm senses? You counting my know what I'm saying? We're hanging out, right? It's all
8 or 9
good.
times? That's
But you
too
see
many
what
know
I'm
what I'm
saying?
saying?
Riding
You know
on
what
my
I'm
jock, you know what I'm saying? I'm just trying to have a good time.
So I do think that the department of, you knows, need to have a conversation with Kevin Holland, because holy shit, that was a lot of you knows. But either way, let's just continue on with TJ Dillishaw. Let's get to the next clip.
I didn't want to play to the game because what if I said 5.56? What if I what
2.23.
Yeah, whatever caliber I shoot, he's going to shoot it down. He's going you know, I want him play into his game. You know,
You trained on the AR.
I did.
That's what he trained on.
Bro, I trained. I trained. Hey, I didn't want to talk about this, but I was trained by the SAS. You know what the SAS is? What kind of man are you? You don't know what SAS is?
You got an ego problem, Rampage.
You can tell him like, oh man, back in my day, I wasn't worried about what I was shooting. I was worried about winning UFC titles. What are you doing, dog? What are you doing? You know what I mean? Like, fuck, he can't talk shit, bro. Like, he can't come here talk shit to a legend across the table. I text Bear. I was like, homeboy needs to get slapped.
No,
I was like, fuck that.
I said, you're more than...
All right, now I love this clip for a few reasons. First of all, they're memeing about the whole 45-70 thing, which it is fucking ridiculous. You know, it had nothing to do with anything. It came from out of nowhere. And there were a lot of people in the comment section of my last video that had mentioned, you know, I've been shooting my whole life and I've just heard about this 45-70 business now. So Kevin Holland probably just learned about this last week, and he's like a little kid that learns a new word and they try to just shove it into any place they can, even when it doesn't make sense.
It was great, and apparently I've never been on live television before, but apparently sometimes I don't watch the news because I'm a kid, and apparently Grandpa just gives me the remote after we watch the Powerball.
That's what it felt like to me, okay? When a little kid learns the word literally, and they just say it everywhere, all the time, even when it doesn't make sense. So that's, you know, that bit was funny. But then at the end, TJ Dillishaw just absolutely fucking roasts him with what would have been the perfect comeback. Now, I understand that Rampage Jackson is not trying to burn bridges, and that's why I think TJ is such a good addition to this show. He can say the shit that Rampage Jackson probably wants to say, or that Bear wants to say. I mean, Bear, fuck it, who cares about Bear? But that Rampage wants to say, but doesn't, because he doesn't want to burn these bridges, and he wants to be able to have guys on his podcast. And he probably thinks that if he's just talking shit about these guys that come on his show, other guys are not gonna want to go on there. So that's why I understand, dude. I just stuttered like crazy. I understand that a lot of people don't like TJ because of the EPO shit, but fucking hell, man. He is fantastic on this show because he's so honest and blunt, almost to the point of like it being a fault, or he just has no social awareness, or it's just he does not give a fuck whatsoever, and I love it. But either way, let's get to the next clip.
What you see.
What do you think of Kevin Holland right now? His record, his performance as a fighter, all jokes aside. I mean, he's
fun, right? So he's entertaining, he's fun. I heard him in here sucking. Like, I was bad on the podcast, right? So I commented even on one of the posts you guys put out there about him not caring about being a champion. There's too much politics in it. I'm like, all right, dude, that's just an excuse because you'll never be a champion. You know what I mean? Like, but he's a very entertaining fighter. He talks a lot. He does this, but he will never be a champion. I'll promise you that.
Wow, TJ. Wow.
Again, we're going to get into this.
Did it with Anthony Smith. Now you're doing it with Kevin Holland, TJ.
Well, because it's the truth. Like, he's got some holes in his game, and we see it here, right?
But what if he switched teams, get some new people around him, and really focus on getting to that
Bro, you sat here and let him say, like, he doesn't give a shit. You know, like, are you going to be a champion if you don't care? No, you ain't never going to be. Like, you need to obsess about it every day of your life. Like, you need to be OCD about training, about being the best, not losing one practice. Like, he's talking about bringing training partners in and going home and smoking weed. You know, like, just sitting here listening to him talk and then watching his skills on TV. He doesn't have the mindset for it. He's just happy being on TV.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, being a champion is about mindset, though.
It's everything, bro. Yeah. It's like, I mean, there's so many moving parts in becoming a UFC champion that you got to be completely obsessed about it day in and day out when it comes to your diet, comes to your training, comes to your recovery. Like the way you carry yourself, and I think it's too much work for him.
Do you think it's a bad thing that a fighter is don't have the eye set on being champion?
No, I wouldn't say it's a bad thing, but you can't come in here and disrespect the UFC champion. You know what I mean?
So I want to talk about the end of that clip real quick before we get into the bit about Kevin never being a champion. Okay, so Rampage asked TJ, is it a bad thing that Kevin does not want to be champion? And TJ says, no, not necessarily. And somebody left this comment on my last video, and I do agree with it, that they are prize fighters. Their goal is to make money. So if you can make money without championship status, then good on you, basically. Like, you're doing your job, you're being a prize fighter. And that person's right to an extent, but there are a lot of guys in this sport, and I would consider TJ Dillishaw one of them, where money is secondary and they care about legacy first. However, that being said, right, if you can make your money without all the extra duties, all the extra responsibilities of being a champion, then I mean, good on you. If your goal is to make money and that's what you're doing, you know, fantastic. But TJ Dillishaw is correct. You know, Kevin Holland will never be champion. I don't think he ever had the potential to be champion. And I'm not trying to be shitty, but TJ goes on to, you know, analyze his fight and point out holes in his game, and things like that. He's not just talking shit for the sake of talking shit, but he's right, dude. You know, and something that he says there, where Kevin says, I don't care about being champion, and TJ says, that's just an excuse because you know you'll never be one. He's correct, in my opinion. I believe that when Kevin Holland says things like that, it's a coping mechanism, you know, as if you've got a fucking choice, okay? Like, you're choosing not to be champion, as if you could just, at any given moment, all of a sudden become one. It's a very strange mentality. There are guys like this that you meet in, you know, in sports and video games and things like that, where they're just not good at something, so they pretend like they don't care. And that's not a perfect analogy, because obviously Kevin Holland can fucking fight, right? I'm not saying Kevin Holland's not good at fighting, but he's definitely not championship material, at the very least, in my opinion, and the opinion of TJ Dillishaw's. Now, I just thought this whole bit was fucking hilarious. They basically talked about it for the first 15 minutes of the show. TJ Dillishaw was breaking down his fight a little bit and you know, pointing out where he thinks he, you know, could improve and things like that. But I think it's cool to see TJ having Rampage's back like that. And also, I mean, the vast majority of the MMA community did as well. And it is also cool to see the opinions of so many kind of validated by a UFC champion who holds the exact same opinions as all of us do when it comes to that whole Kevin Holland situation. So either way, dude, that's it for this video. TJ Dillishaw just cooking Kevin Holland. Like and subscribe, all that good shit, dude. I'll see you at the next video. Bye-bye.